Hey, NAI football fans, this is Corey Thorpe. I have John Cooper with me this week on the NAIAF Ball podcast. And we have, again, I say it every week, it's a special treat. We love sitting down with these coaches. We have Indiana Wesleyan head coach Jordan Langs. Coach, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing great, enjoying some cold weather and some family time before our players come back next week, and so just kind of getting recharged.
Do you actually enjoy the cold weather?
Nah, no, not really.
Yeah.
Outside of, I enjoy the seasons and the change of seasons, and outside of getting out in the tree stand a few times over Christmas break. Besides that, I could as soon as Christmas turns, I'm looking forward to golf season.
I hear that. So, Coach, let's take a look at the year that was Indiana Wesleyan. So y'all be entering your fifth season in 2022. So this is your first season with a full, almost a full roster here. Four seasons. You've got your first real crop of seniors, and you continue your growth. We talked a couple years ago when we had you on about the gauntlet and making it through the gauntlet. Well, y'all made it through the gauntlet relatively unscathed with only a 7-point loss at Concordia. Talk about the growth that you've seen in your team over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean it's been good. I'm really proud of what we've kind of gotten to. When you did talk to us, it feels like a long time ago now at this point, but it's been fun to see it kind of all just come to fruition. When we first got here, all we really had to build off of was a vision and a culture, a vision for a culture, and then a pile of dirt into what the stadium is going to look like. And now all that's kind of come to fruition, and I'm really proud to say that with the senior class coming through, and we've had a great coaching staff over the last few years, and we winning is a byproduct, I think, of a vision kind of seen and kind of coming to fruition and support. And so really proud of the season we had, and it is cool, and I'm really proud of the work that our coaching staff and our players have done to get us here.
Coach, I just want to talk about two main things tonight. One, we just talked about the gauntlet right there, but first time in season history, you guys swept Marion and St. Francis, which has been, the big figureheads, historically through this division. And you guys beat St. Francis, but then you crushed Marion, which these are two nearby schools. Can you just talk about just how big of a deal it was to your program, your players, just the culture there?
Yeah, a big deal for us because of how much we respect those programs. And both those coaches, Coach Henninger and Coach Donnelly, have been very, very good and gracious to myself as a young coach who stepped into the conference just a few years ago. And we have a lot of respect for them. And beating teams like that it is important to us because as soon as we started the program, immediately, it doesn't matter how well you did in the first few years. The fan base wants to know when are you going to be ready to play well versus Marion, and when are you going to be ready to play well versus St. Francis. And that it was fun to be able to have those things come to fruition. I think versus Marion, our guys played extremely well in all three phases, and um, I'm not sure we were, whatever the score is, I'm not sure we were quite that much better than them, but
41-7,
um,
pretty impressive,
yeah,
Coach.
yeah, it was a good win. And then at St. Francis, the way we won was really dramatic. We didn't play particularly well, but to win on a last second field goal um, was something we'll never forget.
Those games always seem to come down to field goals, whether it doesn't matter whether it's Marion, St. Francis, Concordia, y'all. All of those games inside of the that four team, even Siena Heights, they all seem to always come down to field goals or blocked field goals. It's
Yeah.
always something special teams. You've been gracious enough to agree to talk a little bit about the abbreviated postseason that Indiana Wesleyan had. I know we were really looking forward to seeing the Wesleyan War, as I think we had deemed it at that point. Um, but in as much as you can say, we would be not doing our job completely if we didn't ask what happened there.
Yeah. Really, disappointing in a lot of ways. What ultimately would happen, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. We had a young man who was enrolled in our graduate school, which is one of our online graduate programs. He wasn't engaged in class at a certain point like he should have been. He was administratively withdrawn by the online graduate program. And when he was withdrawn from those programs, neither myself, our coaching staff, nor the athletic department, they were not notified. So unfortunately, there's a complete breakdown in the university's communication system that inadvertently and completely avoidably, we ended up playing a player in 2 games that we had no idea was ineligible, but as they went back and reviewed it, they deemed him ineligible. And to be honest, I found out less or about 48 hours before we played Kansas Wesleyan. And it was probably one of the saddest, darkest days that I've ever had personally. And it was by far the saddest, darkest day we've ever had in this football program. And it may be that the saddest, darkest day this football program ever sees. There was so much hurt. There was so much emotion. There was so much confusion, and something that could have been avoided. And I think that's what's probably the most frustrating. And if you were around our program, and if you were inside our building, you would see how seriously we take not just our academics, but how seriously we take our eligibility. And it's something we make sure every D or T is crossed and every I is dotted. And this situation was kind of outside of our realm of control. We had no idea about it, and it would have been avoidable if there wasn't a breakdown in the system. And unfortunately, because there was a breakdown in the system, there's 139 players and 10 coaches, and a team that was ranked number 5 in the country had to pay the price for it. And it was really disappointing. It still is. It's probably not something that I'll ever completely heal, but don't really have much of a choice but to set your chin and move forward.
Yeah. So, coach, with that instance happen, you're coming off still, regardless of that happening, you're coming off the best season in school history. We talked before we got rolling that your guys are coming in this week. One, how much hunger is left in your guys, you think, with that happening? And two, what's your off season going to look like for the months of January and February?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a deeper hunger than I could probably even put my finger on right now. I meet personally one-on-one with every single one of our players before they go home for break. And it doesn't matter if a kid had been there for 3 months and he's a freshman, or if a kid's been there for 5 years. Everyone is hungry to see our football program succeed. And for a lot of them, they're hurting, and they're still hurting, and they're still raw from it, and they want it. They want to do right by it. And I think the disappointing piece is because of how good our conference is, and the MSFA East specifically. If you go through that thing and you finish 9-1 and you're Coach Amps, man, you feel like you've earned your chance to play in that postseason. In the NAI, only 16 teams are in, so every team has earned its way there. But when you come out of the MSFA East and have the highest seed and earn the automatic, I mean, you really feel like you really deserve a chance to show it. And I think our kids felt that, especially those kids who've been here since the beginning. We have fifth and fifth year seniors who have put everything, the last 5 years into it. And it was disappointing for them not to kind of reap the fruits of that. And we have players that are leaving and graduating who are great players who aren't going to get the taste of that. And that's really disappointing. So that's going to drive us. There's no doubt. But the thing for us is, there's no better driving factor than knowing that you got to line up against the MSFA East, 7 times next year. So we want to be a playoff team. We want to make playoff runs. It's really important to us, but none of that can come unless we're prepared to play great football against our conference opponents, which is important to us. So we're excited for January, February. We're going to train our tails off. And because of COVID over the last couple of years, this is our first true off-season training we've had. For really most of the kids in our program. So we're excited to see what we can do with that. And, Coach Clark, our defensive coordinator, runs our strength conditioning. It does it at a very high level. And I'm excited to see our kids kind of go through the next few months. And I think we can get a lot better because of it.
So, Coach, you had a really good season offensively. Devontae Alford was one of my favorite players to watch week in, week out. Just both running the ball and catching the ball. He was such a weapon, but he's going to be gone for y'all, along with Braden Smith on the outside. You do have some offensive linemen coming back. You've still got Xander Stokes coming back, and an all-conference, first-team all-conference wide receiver, and Jacques Carter coming back. Talk to me about what we can expect from your offense in 22.
Yeah, I think we can take a big step. I think, replacing, we'll have to replace Caleb Rufner, who's been and DC Mickey at offensive line, who have been 4-year starters for us. So it's time for some new guys, a couple guys to step in there. Got to find a guy to replace running the ball, which we have a stable of guys we're excited about. I expect a big growth, a big step from Xander Stokes at our quarterback position. I think he's obviously a first-team all-conference player, but he's really scratching the surface of what he can become as a quarterback. And bring back Jack. We've actually got a bunch of young wideouts, and I'm really excited about. So we really feel like we see us losing 3 or 4 starters on offense, but I think we're ready to kind of reload that, and we want to continue to be a team who controls the line of scrimmage and is really efficient when we drop back to throw the ball. So and just play extremely hard and disciplined. So I'm excited about where the offense is headed. I'm excited for a little bit of young blood to kind of show up and kind of push us forward too.
You really did push the ball down the field a lot in 21. Xander Stokes had 9.3 yards per attempt, which you're pushing 10 there. That's always a good feeling for an offense there. But talk about your offensive line. You said you have Caleb Rufner and DC Mickey that are leaving. You're bringing back Ben Farrell and Luke Watson. All 4 of those were all conference selections. How much next man up is an offensive line?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, offensive line is as I see it, one of the very most important position groups you can have on a football team. You can't really cover those. Like, there's no way to cover those guys up, and I think it's important. We have an elite offensive line coach in Brett Ekins. And we have a few guys who are going to be seniors that have been varsity players for us that have never been regular starters. Owen Nadishin and Lucas Doyle, and some guys like that, and it's their time. And they've kind of been in the background, and we need those guys to step up and play really good football for us. And we have a young kid, Will Angel, who I think has the potential to be a very good player. We've got guys that we're excited about, and it's important. We want to play great offensive line, play with a great offensive line, and there's a few guys who it's kind of their time as they've been waiting in the wings.
Coach, with recruiting season fixing to heat up for the NAIA programs, what I really love about Indiana Wesleyan, not only your facilities that we get to feature every offseason, I feel like, but the fact that you guys have a Watch ESPN setup, contract, whatever you want to call it. How big of a deal is that for not only, the recruits that come and visit you guys, that you can tell them that, that's not hard to watch our games. You don't have to funnel with, a funky website. You just go right to the source, and then your kids, the kid that, might live in Florida where we're at, his parents are easily being able to watch them. How big of a deal is it just to watch ESPN?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool deal. And it's to be honest, the biggest draw is exactly what you said. It's the ease of access. Just really be able to pop it in and watch it, right? I mean, it doesn't matter where you're in the country, it doesn't matter what device you're using, you'll be able to pull up the Watch ESPN app and watch our football games and see Indiana Wesleyan on there, which is really neat. And it's something we don't take for granted. We enjoy it, and it really allows us to have a high quality of just a watching experience on Saturdays.
Yeah. So last question for me, Coach, and I'm going to let Cory wrap it up. We got to watch you guys beat Valparaiso the first game of the season. And, I'm a math teacher in my day job. And, there's a little transitive property there, Coach. I don't even know if you realized it, but there was enough, with that win over Valparaiso. You guys are better than Alabama, direct line.
No.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, transitive property doesn't lie in my classroom, coach.
Yeah,
But anyways, here's my question before we get all on that. I'll save that for social media. What, are you guys going to foresee those money FCS games? I know going against finding pioneer teams that are FCS is huge for NAIA teams. Are you guys going to try to pursue that in the future still, or?
Yeah, we're 3 more years locked in with Valparaiso.
Awesome.
So we've got them for 3 more. We're back up to their place, and it's essentially a home and home for 2 rounds of it. So we're up at their place in 22, and then vice versa, back and forth all the way through 24. So we're really excited about them. We enjoyed playing them. We have a lot of respect for their program. I appreciate the way Coach Fox goes about his business, and we enjoyed playing against them. So we're excited to head up to Valparaiso there in the region and get that experience coming up in next September.
Crap, I think after that first game, they might not be so excited to play y'all.
Nah, they've gotten a lot better over the last couple of years, and they're going to keep getting better. So we better make sure we have our big boy pants on for it.
Always. Defensively, you've got Isaac Abeo and Gardy Paul coming back for you, as well as 3 all-conference selections in the defensive backfield. Just talk to me real quick about your defense and continuing to play good defense in what is a defensive-heavy league.
Yeah, that's very true. We're really excited about what we have coming back defensively, and our front 4 really played at a high level. Our back 4 played at a high level, and that was really cool to see. We graduate 2 all-conference linebackers, and I think that's going to be the big question mark. We've got some really talented young guys who are hungry to try to earn those spots, and that's going to be a big point of emphasis for us. Clayton Mosier was a true freshman who ended up starting over half of our games at the Sam linebacker nickel spot, which is very hard to do in our defense in our league. So we're excited about where his trajectory is on the outside, but our 2 box positions are open, and we have some returning older guys who'll be fighting for that. We have some young guys who'll be fighting for that, and that competition will be very key to our defensive success. But we continue to expect to play good defense. We've done that in our program for a long time, and we want to be a team that's complete and plays complementary football and offense, defense, and special teams, and the way our defense has been playing has been a big part of that.
Absolutely. You talk about special teams. I don't talk about kickers very often. John knows I don't talk about kickers very often. But Ben Von Gutten, who is leaving the program, there's not many punters in the NAI that are going over 40 on the average. There's a few. There's not a ton.
Yeah.
So when I saw that average, I went, ooh, I might have to talk about the punter tonight. But I know that's a weapon that I know you'll have to replace. One question for me that I'm kind of trying to ask everyone, and honestly, I think Indiana Wesleyan does as good a job at this as anyone. So I'm really interested to hear your perspective on this. Is how do you and the Indiana Wesleyan athletic department engage and build a program support base? I mean, it's evident that you've got some programmatic base there within the athletic department. So how do y'all work with that to get these beautiful facilities and to grow your base in your boosters?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're kind of, it's an interesting challenge because we're obviously brand new. And the administration did a great job. Mr. Mark DeMichael, who was our AD at the time, and then Dr. Keith Newman, who was our chancellor at the time, and then President Wright. When they started it in 2016, they said, "Hey, let's do it right the first time, right? Let's really get into it well the first time." So they gave us what we needed right away from a facilities perspective. Beyond that, that's a great momentum builder. The tough part about building your base from a booster's perspective, we're just starting to get alumni. We don't have football alums out there. We don't have 50 years worth of football alums to continue to add booster support to. So we got to do it organically through some of our parents. We've got to do it through as these players are just starting to graduate over the last year or two. those guys aren't ready to really be great supporters yet. And I know they will be down the road. So we did a good job as a program of really coming out hot out the gate to make sure we had some good foundation in terms of support. But then as the years to come, the challenge will be how do we continue to harvest that support, even with a pretty small football alumni base, as we continue to have that grow. And I suspect, in the next decade or so, that it'll get a lot better as we have more and more football alums out into this world and making the money and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we are very blessed to have the support we have here. And the best thing that we did is that when we started it, the administration was committed to quote unquote starting it the right way and not cutting a lot of corners as we got it done, and we still get to reap those benefits.
One thing that we were looking at today, as we were prepping, is one thing in y'all's corner is I haven't looked at every NAIA school, but in the ones I've looked at, Indiana Wesleyan has the largest enrollment of any NAIA school I think I've ever seen, with 13,000. That's got to help a little bit in terms of that.
Yeah, that's a little bit skewed because only 2,300 of those are here on campus. The rest of those are the 10 or 11,000 are the what they call the national and global side, all the satellite campuses across the country and all the online presence. So that's not necessarily what we have behind us in some ways, but it is cool because your reach is a little bit farther. You can drive through Lexington, Kentucky, and there'll be a Indiana Wesleyan building, or Columbus, Ohio, or Chicago, or so that is kind of a cool piece of it.
Well, Coach, thanks for coming on the show tonight. We wish you the best of luck in the gauntlet that is yet to come, and we really do look forward to seeing what Indiana Wesleyan has in front of it. It's definitely a program that's had an upward trajectory.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate your support and your encouragement, and looking forward to a good off season.